Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is August 22nd. We have a special guest today. A guest who's been away for a few weeks, but now he's back. Hello, Matthew.
Hi, Jonah. How are you?
Fine. Also, we have here Enes and Awesome.
Hi, Jonah.
Hi everyone.
So, Matthew will be talking first about his topic. So, Matthew, what do you have for us today?
Because currently, sadly, we're in an economic recession. I was thinking about talking about what we hear a lot in the news nowadays about how this is the worst recession in the past 100 years. And the reason they say past 100 years is because the worst recession before this was the Great Depression. And I just wanted to talk about the Great Depression shortly, how it is, what happened, why it's a big part of US history, and how it affected the US economy and the people during that time. So, to start it off, basically, there was a stock market crash in the 1920s, and a lot of people affiliate the stock market crash with the Great Depression. However, they have nothing related. They're both economic, that's it. But the stock market crash wasn't the reason America went into a Great Depression. That's very important for everyone to understand. So basically, to sum up the Great Depression and why it happened, it was because of primarily the banks in America. And one of the leading presidents in America's history, Andrew Jackson, he was very against central banking, federal banking. For that reason, a lot of private banking, state banking, took the lead in early America, and this led to some problems. And these problems would be, for example, during the Great Depression. So there was a high volume of people wanting to take out their money from the banks, but the bank was too busy investing in markets and stock. And as we saw in the 2008 recession, banks were loaning out more money to the stock market than to other commercial investments, which is bad for banks. And the dollar, the currency of America at that time, it didn't get inflated, it got deflated. More people wanted to take out their money because they were jobless. Unemployment was very high, and they couldn't get their money because the bank wasn't getting their loans back. And housing mortgages, they all stopped. Everything froze. Credit froze. When the credit froze, the economy froze, and people were just unemployed and they couldn't buy consumer products. Consumer products prices dropped very low, but there was no one buying those products, so businesses got hurt. When businesses got hurt, they left off more workers. When more workers left off, they tried to go get their money from the bank, and everything just scrambled into each other. It was one of the worst recessions in American history. And you can see some examples in it that happened in the 2008 recession. Some are happening now in the 2020 recession with the unemployment rate. However, during that time, the recession was so bad because the American government, the federal government, wasn't chipping in, wasn't helping at the time. Until the new presidency, they brought rules and regulations about the economy and how the central bank will help and so on. Because if the central bank doesn't invest into the circulation of money in America, whether it's the stock, whether it's other investments, and whether it's the private banks or the state banks, then if you leave it all to those banks, it's going to crash every, I think, 50 years. So the central bank, the American government, circulating our tax money for the economy to be good is important. However, it's very sad to put it that way because that's how capitalism in America works in a way. You need to help out the banks, even though they're very rich, even though they have a lot of people's money. You just have to help them out, and that's what I think America realized at the time, and that became a very important note for like a lesson for America. And right now, as you can see, unemployment rate might be high, but America's paying their unemployed citizens and non-citizens. And for example, there's less circulation of money because of Corona, but America's putting in money. The central bank in America, the Federal Reserve, is pumping money into the circulation of the economy. For example, into stocks, into commercial investments, into housing, into other things, because we know from 2008 the housing and stock market is very important and very crucial for America's
So
economy.
I have a
Yeah.
question. So this recession happened after COVID started, right?
Yes.
Okay, so okay, so before COVID, how was the economy? Was it like Trump, he would always flaunt about how high the stock market is, right?
Yeah.
Um so how is it that one COVID instance devastated the whole entire economy? So does this mean that the economy was actually not so great, um or what?
I'm not an economist, but the way I would put it, Jonah, is this. So basically, the economy was all right, especially how Obama left it. President Obama left it. It was going good, and we can argue about Trump's presidency and how good of a president he is, but for the economic standpoint, we see he continued a growing economy. Um, we see it in the stock market, we see it in other branches of the economy. But what I would say is this: think about it like this. So before the corona happened, for example, the flight industry, right, the travel industry, it's booming. Everyone's traveling, there's flights everywhere and so on. Corona happens, the pandemic happens, the flight industry, the travel industry just crumbles into pieces, literally. And what the government's trying to do, the government's trying to invest in these flight companies so they don't close down, especially the American brands. American Airlines, United Airlines, you don't want them to crash. They're your own companies. So America's investing in them. However, the company's letting go of like 200, 300,000 workers. Now, those 200, 300,000 workers, if the government doesn't provide them with unemployment, which I think we can't just say, oh, Trump did this because it's a government work. So we have the Senate and the House giving the extra $600, the CARE Act, and all that. Um, if the government isn't giving the unemployment correctly, that means there's a serious issue because people are going to start going to the banks, taking out their money. People are going to start using credit. Credit's going to freeze up. All those problems are going to arise. But what the government does, which they have to do, like it isn't whether it's Trump or not. We can argue that Trump's doing a bad job handling the pandemic, which I would say that. And the reason is, even though the economy was good, the economy wasn't ready. Maybe if it was another president, it wouldn't be ready either. But there's still, you can foresee things, When the pandemic is rising around the world, you can't just say nothing's going to happen to America. You got to be economically, socially ready for this. So basically, when all those people get laid off, the amount of income drops. What people make drop. People start, they don't start thinking like consumers. They start thinking about the essentials. So when you go to a supermarket and it's just cleaned out, just wiped out, everything's already bought. That's how their minds work because they need the essentials. They won't be just going on Amazon thinking, oh, what should I spend my unemployment money now? If they were a solid, full-time worker, they wouldn't be thinking, what should I spend my unemployment on now? They would be thinking about their essential lives. I got to get my kids diapers, So this really pushes America into recession because the pandemic made unemployment boom, one, made many companies and industries collapse, even though the American government is helping a lot of companies, especially companies that were already going downhill, they couldn't hold on, which means more unemployment. And basically, in some areas of consumer products, the prices are going up. So we see some inflation. But other than that, as like a normal, I guess, citizen in America, you wouldn't really see the effects on the streets. It kind of looks like it's like a normal day in America, other than we're going through a pandemic.
I mean, same with the stock market. The stock market was at an all-time high for so many years, but the normal citizens didn't really benefit from this at
Yeah.
all.
Exactly.
So I see what you're
And
saying.
also, so about the whole the federal GDP announcement and how people saw the number 36, I think was, or 32% that the American economy was dropping or dropped in GDP growth. So about that, what people misunderstand is that's actually what the economists are foreseeing. So basically, in the second quarter, if I'm not wrong, of U.S. government economy, we actually dropped either 7 or 9%. I don't remember my numbers right now. Either 7 or 9%, right? So they see that as a drop. Okay, that's 9%. It's a big deal still, and they foresee that the next 2 quarters will see drops like that as well, due to Corona, due to the recession. And they say, okay, then our economy this year is dropping 30 something percent in GDP. So the media sometimes makes that look like, oh, we just dropped 30%. No, we dropped 7 or 9%. The 30% is most likely what we will go down by the end of the year. I'm not saying what they're doing is wrong, because usually the economists are right about GDP drops in percentages, and they foresee these things. But you never know. And there's an election ahead of us. By the way, everyone who's a citizen, you should vote. Um, there's an election ahead of us in November. We don't know how that's going to affect the economy too. We don't know. You know, what they said about President Bush was is he has a pile of how should I put it, horse poop in his hand, and right when Obama's walking in, he just throws it up at the fan and runs away. And when Obama walks in, the poop's everywhere. It hit the fan and went everywhere. Now Obama has to clean it up. So what I'm seeing right now, it might sound like a Democrat, but what I'm seeing right now is, Trump has a lot of poop in his hand. He's about to throw it up in the fan if Biden wins, and he's gonna walk out, and Biden's gonna have to clean it all up. So this recession, the problems we're facing today as America, as a whole country, we might be facing for another 6 months to 12 months, even if Biden gets elected or even if Trump continues. Because bringing change, sadly, in America takes a while.
Actually, I believe that's a good thing and a bad thing because when it's not taking a while, that means there might be no checks and balances where people control, make sure that things are done right. But it's a plus and a minus in my opinion, because America has a lot of checks and balances. No one can uh, act quickly to such things, but it's sometimes bad, as we saw in Corona, like China or such countries, which the presidents hold the whole power instead of the House, and they can act real quickly and respond by one saying. But in America, I guess with the House and the Senate, things are going slower, but I guess steadier in the long run, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're
Yeah.
saying, and that's absolutely correct. Checks and balances are one of the most important part of the American democracy system working here, and it's very important. I agree 100%. But sometimes where I feel like the politicians betray us, which I guess in their own terms they have to, is when they have to value their party's benefits more than what benefits the people. So, for example, if uh, a Republican stands up and he's one of the Republican Party leaders and he says, for the Corona Cares Act, we are going to vote for $200. But the Democrats are saying we need to do it $600. The people need $600. Even though some Republicans might believe that $600 would benefit the people more, just because of how politics works, of how their party works, they might have to succumb to $200. So there's a lot of problems in our political spectrum, and I'm glad young senators and young representatives are coming up, are getting voted in, because we need to refresh Congress. We need to refresh the presidency with more intellectual, young, dynamic, cultured people. Because if we don't, it doesn't matter how good we are as a country. if the people leading us don't represent that, and they represent their own values and views and perspectives and narcissism, then no matter how good we are, the country might crumble in the end.
Absolutely.
So Matthew, I kind of have a question for you. From what I understood about what you said, I think everything is interconnected. So one thing affects like million other things, and that's why the country, the world was not ready for this kind of pandemic to survive as the economy was not ready for this kind of pandemic, I guess. Am I correct?
Yes, of course.
But when you look at other countries' economy, like Korea, Japan, the Scandinavian countries, they're handling it pretty well. Like I was on Reddit the other day and I saw someone posted a picture of this huge stack of supplies, okay? Essential needs, canned foods, diapers, blah blah blah. And then apparently it's the South Korean government providing all these things to the people every 2 weeks just so they don't go out and risk their lives.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And like their economy is, I guess, in numbers or scale, it's worse than America. And they're able to get by the pandemic better than us. So what you're saying, Awesome, is yet for America, it's true, but not the whole world.
Yeah, same goes with the recession, I would say, because for example, when you look at the Great Depression, this spread to the world. Like for example, Europe and America, they increased tariffs and taxes on trade, and this brought trade to an even lower amount going on in the world, and it just brought the world to a depression, especially in Europe and America. What you see right now is like, yeah, we're going through a recession in America, but it might not be the same case in China, Korea. It might not be the same case in Sweden and Norway. So that's very important to look at too if we're going to look at the world. And when it comes to, I guess, how ready we were and whatnot, we would be, I think, more ready if people paid their taxes. And Trump is still going around being happy about having tax cuts, and it's like the historic tax cuts he's talking about. He's saying that we brought tax cuts, and that's very good. It's good, but when companies like Amazon or other huge,
It's not good at all, bro.
no, like in the way he's saying it is like he's saying it towards, like, I guess, the middle class, the lower middle class, where they're paying so much taxes when they need the money for their own essential needs. There's an imbalance there, and he's trying to set it in that view. But we all know, especially if you do your research and you follow the news, we all know who those tax cuts are going to: the billionaires, the rich companies, the Irish, the Swiss banks. We all know where this is going to. And when you don't have those tax money, those billions of dollars, trillions and dollars worth of tax money, then you can't pump that tax money into the economy. You can't get ready for a pandemic without that tax money. It's going to be harder. It's going to pay more of a toll on the economy when you pump money from the government and you don't have that kind of tax money. And I don't know how Trump's still happy about that, but what we see in other countries is they collect their taxes and then they get ready according to the situation. Here, we acted like it never existed, even though it was spreading out of China. We acted like we're economically suitable to handle a pandemic. We acted like we don't need the upper percentage of Americans' tax money. We just acted. We kept acting. I don't want to say we. I want to say they. They kept acting like none of these things were needed. And at the end, when the pandemic did hit, when we did have a recession, you realize that those factors of the economy, factors of social construct, are very much needed.
Okay, Matthew.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was very informative. And I think we kind of let off some steam too.
Yeah.
So thanks again. And right now we're moving on to Awesome. I would love to talk about this more, but we have like a we have a time constraint, so we have to move on.
Yeah, I can talk about a lot of things, but I'll try to keep it short. First of all, I am really, really happy the NBA is back, and the quality is beyond all of people's expectations. It's really good. The games are playing at really high level. I was researching about why were the concerns that the games were not going to be good and why it is good. So the main thing is they say the travel. Normally teams, America is a very big country, so in order to go from A to B, you need to travel a lot. It takes a lot of time, and teams were not going city to city. Now everyone is in the same place, and they have more time to rest, so they are more fresh to each game, and we can see the effects on that. If you can say NBA is a product, we can see the effect of it on the product. And now the playoffs have come. The seeding games was really exciting, especially for the 8th seed of the West. Jonah, we watched the last game with you. It was really exciting, and
That was crazy.
I was really excited. I want to say a couple of things about Damian Lillard. He's on another level right now. He posted 51 and 61 back to back, and the Portland,
Wow.
his team needed each point. It was not like there was a blowout and he was keep scoring. They needed
I mean,
every point.
he's been carrying the team.
Yeah, he's been carrying the team since January until the league stopped, and from the restart, he's still carrying the team. It's unbelievable. I would highly recommend you to watch the Portland's games. They are all exciting. I call them drama queens because every game is another drama. Go watch their series with Lakers. So I want to talk about a couple of series which I found interesting. First of all, I want to start with Boston and Philly. Unfortunately, Philly's all-star Ben Simmons went undergo surgery that ended his season, so he was not with Philly. And there were really a lot of NBA writers believed the Philadelphia was built to win a championship, but without Simmons, it was really impossible, and everybody is really frustrated to not see him on the floor. But I'm happy, kind of happy, because I'm a Boston fan, and now we are up 3-0 against Philadelphia, and we only need to win one more game. Also, during the normal season, we played 4 times with them. They beat us 3 times, and the way they beat us, it was really frustrating for a Boston fan. They were too big for us to handle. I'm kind of happy Simmons didn't play. I didn't want him to, get injured, but it is what it is. And another series is the Bucks and Magic. I'm saying it's really interesting because in the first game, betting companies were giving them like 1 or 2% chance to win. They go out and win by like 15 or 20, but the way they beat Bucks is really interesting. We saw that they really prepared themselves against the Bucks, against the Giannis. The only way to stop Giannis is the build of all. 3 player needs to close to Giannis, and so he can't get by his defender. Otherwise, it's really easy for him to get to the rim and score. And if you bring people, that means you are sacrificing from your other resources, so the other players are more open and they make a lot of open trees. So it's really hard to stop him, but somehow Orlando did it without their best defenders. Jonathan Isaac, he's also injured, so he can't play. I was really excited to see how Orlando plays. But in second game, Milwaukee was more ready. The reason I'm excited is if Boston can pass we will pass Philly, and if we can pass Toronto, we will play with Bucks on the East Finals. And every time Bucks struggles, I'm really happy for that. I'm watching Bucks games more. How can you say? More careful than Boston games, because they are eventually we're gonna face them. These are the couple of series. Oh, also the last series I want to talk about is Houston and Oklahoma City, because most of the people